Alright, our next guest on Racing Extra is trainer Con Karakatsanis. Con, how are you? Welcome.
Good, very well.
Did I get that, pronunciation okay?
Yeah, that's fine.
Happy with that?
Close as you can get it.
Good, that's good. We're out at your stables based at Warwick Farm. Yep. How long have you been out here for?
I bought this property about a year and a half ago, so it was a complete rebuild. We knocked the original stables that were out here and spent a fair bit of money to build the boxes the way I wanted them, and I've got a really nice setup now, and we're just about complete with the finishing touches of the stables at the moment. So things have come along quite well. So I'm happy with the way they're looking.
Oh, good. Well, before we talk about the present, let's talk a bit about the past and how you got into racing. You're obviously part of a racing family, but for those who don't know, you're also a apprentice jockey as well. So talk us through the story.
Yeah, basically, Dad from a younger age got involved in the trotters and then moved on to the gallopers by owning a fair few. And when I was growing up, all I wanted to do when Dad was with the horses was to become a jockey, and it was just something that I kind of just always wanted to do, and I was lucky enough to do what I dreamed of doing, and I ended up riding for about 7 years, and rode successfully in Sydney for most of that time, and I rode in Queensland and a bit in Melbourne as well, and rode over 100 runners. I obviously didn't have a lot of rides, but just due to weight restrictions, and by the end of my career, the lightest I could ride was probably 56.5, 57.
Okay.
So, but I was walking around 65 kilos during the week. And,
is that right?
Yeah,
really? Wow.
And getting down to ride that 57. So, but there always comes a time when your body just says no more, and it come to me. Probably didn't want it to happen. But it was just time that I faced a little bit of reality and realised that the body can't do it no more, and there's more to not eating after weeks and weeks in the year. That once you start enjoying your food and and the fluids quite well, it actually you actually balloon out, and then it just becomes too much of a struggle, and it just basically wasn't healthy. And so basically,
it must make it hard when you can only ride at say 57 kilos, unless you're at that top echelon of riders. How hard is it to compete with those blokes?
Yeah, that's right. Like I would have lost like hundreds of winning rides just due to weight restrictions, where I'd get on a decent horse and not be able to stick with it because the next start obviously not get enough weight, and a lot of trainers like to have jockeys that stick through on the whole preparation, and being an apprentice as well, like not being able to fulfil my full claim as well was also tough. But look, most of the time that I was riding, I had two kilos, 1.5 kilos in town, and trainers weren't even worried about that claim. They just treated me more like a senior rider. So like I ended up getting on a good horse like Mystegic that he won. I rode him his last 6 or 7 starts. I was lucky enough to ride him in a Manicato in Melbourne. I run third on him in a TJ Smith at Randwick. So I was lucky enough to get on some decent horses as well, and that boosted my career along. But there just come a time where the curtain come across, and that was it. And at that time, Dad was training, and he's probably felt he was getting on a little bit, and I was finishing one chapter of my life and my career, and he's done the right thing by stepping back and going, well, here's a great opportunity for you.
Yeah.
I've got some great owners, some nice horses.
Yep.
Let's see what you can
See
do
what you
from
can do.
yeah. So I've taken over the reins and I haven't looked back.
Beautiful.
No, exactly. And from a punting point of view, and a lot of our audience are punters, the stable and the family have been known to pull off a few plunges in the day. Was that something that you got a few stories early on about?
Tell us about the Grafton carnivals. It's one thing when you start doing the form looking towards Grafton, you look at a few of those maidens, we've seen Kashan and many in the past. There's always seems to be one or two horses that you seem to set. That is,
Well, it's just Grafton's basically come about with an old horse Dad used to train called Little Lucifer, and he took him up there for 4 years in a row for the Ramordi, and he ran 4-4s. So basically,
back him each way.
Most probably, and he was always that type of horse that always started at a bit of odds because he was a back marker. He relied on tempo.
Yeah.
And he'd always finish off and run your great race. And since those couple of runs, Dad always decided, well, we got looked after pretty well, and we always decided to take a team up there. And I think the success that we got was just mainly due from having the right horses at the right time, and probably up and coming horses that you'd say, looking back, were well suited. They're like Black Piranha, who was my horse that won 2 Group 1s.
Yeah.
He broke his maiden in Grafton.
Yeah.
So a horse like News Alert that went on and he won a fair, he won a Healy Stakes, he won a Canterbury Classic, he won a McLean Cup there. So some nice horses that we've taken up there have been probably the right horses to get that little bit of experience under their belt with the travel.
Yeah, that's true.
And get them up there, race. You know, remember they are city horses racing against
Bush horse.
country performers, and if you've got a horse with a little bit of upside, they're always going to be very hard to beat. And it's just kind of continued on, and I do set horses a long time before the carnivals due to come up, where I sit back and I go, okay, well, I look at every horse individually and say, this is where they're at their preparation, and what do they need to make their career in racing move forward. And a lot of them are trip away a bit of time where they can race against some easier company and win some races. It keeps the owners happy, and it just gives the horse full of confidence. A horse like Kashan that went up there last year, he won his second start at Canterbury, then got struck with a lot of heavy tracks and completely lost his confidence. So I had set him up there for the experience, the firmer tracks, and he's gone up there and he's really kicked the goal, and since then he's had a break and he's come back in a totally different horse. That's what I mean about the experience. Get him away from home, get him to travel, get him to be in a new stable, new environment. Just all those sort of things is what I look for when I target the Grafton Carnival.
And is that something that punters look for, something they can look for with your training method? You sort of you're planning a long way in advance and really sort of doing things different to switch them on both mentally and physically?
Yeah, like I do find that most times when I do have a runner, they are, especially in the country, first starters, horses that earlier on in their career, punters are always that, bookies are always that little bit wary of the stable, is because I do my absolute best. By the time they get to the races, they're educated right, they've had the right sort of upbringing. So when they do go to the races, they're ready to perform and do their absolute best. So I'm here to train winners. I'm here to get results for my owners and do everything possible to make my name successful in the game. So when punters do see a few of my horses running around, they all seem to just have a little bit of a question mark on them.
No
And
doubt.
Yeah, so.
So we'll go back a little bit. How important was having a horse like Black Piranha to early in the career?
Well, basically, if it wasn't for him, I wouldn't be in the situation that I'm in at the moment.
Yep.
Yeah.
He was the type of horse that put everything in bright lights for me. Made me very successful at a young age. Like I trained my first Group 1 winner when I was 23.
Yeah.
And leading into that, he'd run 4 Group 1 seconds. So for a young trainer to get such a quality horse, and obviously Dad trained him before, and he showed a fair bit of ability. But as he got older, the true Black Piranha came out, and it just opened up so many windows, especially for me, because people seem to notice the smaller trainers that get good results.
Yeah,
Like,
of course.
and they all, like, don't get me wrong, your top trainers, people that I think just get used to it because
it's what they do each
like
week.
like Waller and Moody, and they keep training all these winners all the time. But when a young bloke that's only got a small team can get a result and get a nice horse, people do sit back and go, oh, okay, well, he must do an okay job to get this horse to perform at that level. And so it's good.
And when did you know Black Piranha, or how much do you love me? When do you know that you've got a good horse on your hands?
Well, Black Piranha, I had a bit of an opinion of him, a bit of him early, and it just took him so long to hit those levels.
Yeah.
Like, it wasn't until he was a 5-year-old that he really started to, and it wasn't probably after EI that he really started to, once he had that long time off after EI, because he got that virus pretty bad, he got 12 months off, and he come back as a 5-year-old, and he was a completely different horse. So he'd won 2 in town leading into that. But to say early on that he was going to be as good as he was, I would have said probably not.
Wow.
Yeah.
Where How Much Do You Love Me was a totally different horse. He, from the first time he jumped out, he beat an open class 2-year-old of Gerald Ryan's that had won already in town, and they had a jump out on the sand track at Rose Hill, and he put palings on it. And the lucky thing with him was we only paid $5,000 for him, and because he was so cheap,
people.
no one wanted to buy a share in him.
Wow.
So we ended up with keeping just about the whole horse to ourselves with no owners. And after his jump out, there was no way we were selling. So his first start, Brett and Abdullah rode him. We run him in a no metro win 1,000 metre race at Randwick, and I kind of bypassed the maidens, thinking, well, he'll just win. Maybe we'll run him against some decent horses. Maybe get $4 or $5 and have a go and get a bit of a result, because we owned him ourselves, and they opened him up $1.40. So and don't get me wrong, he won accordingly, and then he went up to Brisbane. He won one in Brisbane, then he come down and won the Ramornie, and I think with him, if he didn't get hurt in the Salinger, he would have won a Group 1. But he basically tore the hamstring off both sides off the bone.
Wow.
Coming out of the gates in the Salinger. That's why he was odds on
I remember,
in that race, and raced poorly. But there was always excuses, and the problem is with that sort of injury, they never come back 100%.
You never can. Like any athlete, it's hard to come back from such a serious injury.
So
let's touch on him now. How's he? We saw him just out the back there. How's he tracking?
Look, he's he got beat about 3 lengths in the show county his last start, missed the start, done everything wrong. Like not him usually to miss the start and get back. So his run, in my opinion, wasn't too bad, but I just think he'd had enough by then. He'd had a pretty long prep. I took him nice and slow, so he'd been in work.
And he'd had a few tough runs where he was caught wide.
Yeah,
and little things wouldn't go his way.
Heavy tracks, bad barriers, and then the one start that kind of everything kind of went his way, he got beat a nose by Peeping. So she's gone on and won again since then. And so look, there's a race for him in a month's time. That's back in the benchmark race. He'd probably get a bit of weight, so just depending on how much they give him, depending if we'll claim or not, but he goes well fresh. So if we can just keep him together and keep him well and healthy and happy, he's going to run us a great race first up.
Okay. So we spoke about some of the highlights. We'll go back to one of the little lowlights. When you went for your holiday, you had the break. How hard is it? And we're about to see, I think, some of these Melbourne trainers that could go for the similar thing. How hard was it to bounce back from there to where you are now?
Well, I take it, most people would think of it as a negative. But I look at it differently and see it as a big positive, because in that time off, I had a lot of time to sit back, think about what life's all about. I learned to live with absolutely nothing, no income, no money, those sort of things, and realised, because I was still like in my 20s, still a bit young, and it just gave me the chance to sit back and go, okay, well, whatever I was doing before, I've got to ramp this up by 10.
So you came back with a real fire in
so
your belly.
I've come back, like you said, just 110% every day. Like, I've been back a year and a half. It's just 7 days a week. I live at the stables. I just live and breathe my horses here. They get the utmost care that you could possibly give a racehorse. So, like, I don't have the numbers where it gets too big, but I've got enough to make a living and survive, and just hope a nice horse comes along. And like, as you can see, we basically built these brand new stables all by ourselves. Between my dad and a couple of friends, we've really put some real hard work in, and I take a lot of pride in my stables, and we're all almost finished, so it's coming along.
It seems
really
a perfect little setup for you. You don't have to leave too early for work. But it's all here. You've got everything you need right here, and you're close to
that's
the train.
right. Yeah, look, I've actually loved coming here and training, because I've been at Rose Hill, having on-course stables at Rose Hill, having to worry and fit in with everyone else it's always difficult, because you're always restricted to time when you can do this and that. Where here, I run my own show. I do basically what I want, when I want, and you got no one always watching you to, you're running out of time or this or that. I can do my own thing, work within my sort of hours and the way I want my staff and myself to be looking after my horses. And it has taken a fair bit of time, especially getting the horses back and getting them back into my routine. It's taken them probably a good preparation. Now they've all had that good break. They've come back in, and they've really adapted back to my style of training. And you'll see over the next probably 12 months, I've got some really nice stock coming through, some well-bred horses coming through. I've got some really good owners that have really stuck their neck out and supported me with a lot of young horses, and hopefully you just rely on, fingers crossed, a little bit of luck that just a couple of them show something and just kick a goal, and then you're away.
Beautiful.
All right. Well, I definitely can say to the punters at home that you're not going backward. You're definitely going forwards. It sounds like it. The stable.
Yeah, no, there's no looking back. Look, to be honest with you, I've totally forgotten about that little hiccup.
Yeah,
That's in the past, and
Yeah, of
it's just forward and.
Sounds like the pennies dropped. Yeah.
Yeah,
They would say.
you can basically say that. I was like that 3-year-old with a bit of potential that
A little bit greener.
put a set of blinkers on him and he was away. So, yeah,
That's
that's
good.
good.
All right. Well, yeah. Thanks for catching up with us and giving the audience at home a bit of an insight into how you run your business and your stable. And yeah, if you want to get in contact with Con, I'm sure you've got your website or ways to grab a horse, grab a share. I'm sure there's something always going.
Always something available. You just got to ring me.
Exactly.
Yeah, beautiful.
Yeah.
All right,
Look
thanks for
forward to
having
looking
us.
at the next 6 to 12 months anyway.
It'll be good.
All right. Thanks, Con. Thank you.
My pleasure.
Yeah.